Today we'll be working on skills 11. Write the measure of each angle. Remember how we measure these angles. When you're measuring an angle using a protractor, we look at the ray at the bottom. This ray is going to tell us where to start, which scale we use, the outer scale or the inner scale. So if this ray is pointing to the left, remember I'm going to start counting at 0 and move up all the way till we get to the other ray, and that'll tell us the measure of the angle. So in this angle, our ray is pointing to the left side, so I will start counting at the 0 for the outer scale. So we have 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, and then 161, 162. So this one would be 162 degrees. And I know this is an obtuse angle, so this makes sense because 162 is greater than 90 degrees. So you do number 2 on your own, do number 3 on your own, number 4 on your own, and let's look at number 5. 5, 6, 7, and 8. They're a little bit different. So on this, none of the rays go through the 0 line or the 0 edge. These rays go to the top of that angle, that protractor. So there's two ways we could do this. We can either subtract the two number lines, the two measurements at each ray, or we can make one of these rays a 0 and count from there. So I'm going to show you both ways. All right, so one way we could do it is we can just decide which scale we're going to use. Do we want to use the inner scale or do we want to use the outer scale? I'm going to use the outer scale, so I'm going to highlight the outer scale. Right, so I'm going to be using the outer scale. That means I can only use the numbers on that scale. I'm not going to use the inner scale. So if I follow this ray is at 30 degrees. So I'm going to write 30 degrees right there. And then if I follow this ray is at 130 degrees. Then all I have to do is find the difference between those two measurements. So 130 degrees minus 30 degrees, that gives me 100 degrees. So that means this angle measures 100 degrees. But you got to remember, you can only use one scale, because if I use this scale here, it's 30 degrees, and I use the inner scale over here, and it's 50 degrees, and I subtract, that's going to give me 20 degrees. And this angle is not 20 degrees. So that's one way we could do it. The other way we could do it is I can pretend like this scale, I'm going to make this my 0 line, so I can make 0 here, and I count up from there. So it's this 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. That means this is 100 degrees. I pretend this is 0, and I can count all the way to this line, and that gave me 100 degrees. So those are two ways we could use to figure out angles that are not lined up with that 0 edge. So this would be 100 degrees. So now you try 5, 6, 7, and 8 on your own.